Don't I know you?
I don't know if I know you.
Hi, George.
Hi.
How are you?
Hi, Mary. Happy anniversary. We're going to have a big wing ding today.
Crying out loud. Happy anniversary.
Thank you.
Israel. Show us your pretty girl. Hi, Israel. Hi, Israel.
Where's your wife, eh? Where's your wife? Right here. Talking to your mom?
Yeah, here.
Jeff, have you met my wife?
Yeah.
You gotta sit down on this one.
We'd like to start this by asking some of Dad's old friends, old schoolmates, to come up and see if they could relate a few stories for us. We'd like to keep them kind of clean, but we got most of the kids out at the Easter egg hunt, so you don't have to be too many. Can we get these gentlemen at the table here to come up and talk? No, that's all right. We already know what.
Only the truth.
All in the truth.
Well, I'm proud to say that I've known Dick. I haven't known Mary quite as long, maybe 25. But I've known Dick way back when we were classmates in high school. And I don't want to put him on the spot, but Dick still holds the speed record in Skagit County with a 1937 Lincoln Zephyr. I'm not so sure whether his record for chasing girls has been broken yet or not, but Dick held a good record for that. And I was thrilled to death when I heard that this was to be a surprise on Dick and Mary, because about 3 years ago, we celebrated, 2 years ago, we celebrated our 50th. And Dick had been up to Mount Vernon. Normally when he came, he'd call and we'd visit on the phone. And so I said, Dick, we're going to have a little party up here. If you and Mary would like to come, and Bob and June, well, we'd love to have you. Well, I don't know. I don't think we can make it. We got play and all this, you know. So the day of the occasion, why, here come Dick and Bob, about an hour early. And I said, gee, I'm glad you guys could come. Where's your wives? Well, they stayed home. We're playing a gig in Everett tonight, and we got a little hungry. We thought we'd come out and have a bite to eat. So great, we visited just a little bit, and they had something to eat, and before long, I noticed some activity over in the corner, and here's Dick with his bowl fill, and Bob with his drums, and before we knew it, they were all set up, and I said, what are you guys doing? So that was a complete surprise to us, and I'm just thrilled to be a part of this surprise for you two. Thank you.
I know we've got a lot of Buckinghams out there, and we'd hate to do this party just one.
Almost 200.
We don't have 200 of them here tonight, do we? Because I'm having trouble remembering the 15 or 20 we got. But I know there's got to be a story out there someplace for Mom. Have we got any volunteers from the Buckinghams?
Your mother never does it.
I know Ruthie has got more stories than anybody else does. Is she out there? She's not here. Okay. We'll not put you on the spot while you got a chance to think about this. Dave and I were going to kind of tell you a little bit about the vacation from hell. Now, I'm sure that we don't have to remind these two sitting up here about this vacation, but it happened in 1964, just before I went in the service.
How long does it take to tell this?
Since you were such a big part of it, Dad, you could probably tell it a little faster than I can, but not as accurately as I can. So, anyway, it started out very, very carefully, very nicely. Always started out at night. I never went anywhere with my father that we didn't start out in the middle of the night. Has anybody else seen that? Pat Collins back there.
At least I'm not afraid of the dark.
I don't think they all start out at night anymore, do they? Yeah. Yeah, but Dave's chomping at my...
Yeah, we were scheduled to pull out at night, but us kids were bouncing around the back seat. Everything was packed and ready to go, and Dad says, wait a minute, gotta use the bathroom. Needless to say, we saw the sun come up. We're still in the car.
Yeah, that was always a problem. It was always, if you kids been to the bathroom, and we'd say yes, and he'd say, well, I'll see you out in the car a little later. Anyway, we were going to Penticton, BC, and we were towing he had a 63 Chrysler, or a 63 Plymouth, and I was driving the 59 New Yorker, black New Yorker. You probably saw it. It was the one with the bald tires. That's because I burned the rubber off them, I think. But anyway.
I didn't know you did.
Hey, this isn't about me, Dad. Anyway, I was pulling a boat trailer. We were going to Penticton, like they say, and we're on our way to
Wenatchee.
Wenatchee. Thank you, Dad.
I'm glad I remember that.
We're on our way to
Wenatchee.
Wenatchee. The first night was all right. On our way into Wenatchee, we had left, we camped up in the hill before we got down. We were down.
Pass.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, Stephen's Pass.
Stephen's Pass. This is going to take a while. Anyway, we got started early in the morning again from camp. It was still dark. And we got about 10 miles from Wenatchee. And all of a sudden the steering locked up on the Chrysler. I was behind them, of course. And the steering locked up, so I managed to get the rig stopped off the side of the road, and Dad and Mom disappeared over the horizons. And this was just barely light. It was really early in the morning. I don't know how far did you go before you saw that I was missing?
I don't know.
My point exactly.
Speedometer didn't work.
Yes, the speedometer didn't work. Anyway, Dave and I were beside the road for at least half an hour before they came back. Finally noticed we weren't in the rearview mirror anymore. And we opened up the hood and found out that the low pressure power steering hose had broken. So we unhooked the camping trailer, and Dad and I decided to go into Wenatchee to get a park. So I don't know what happened. What happened after we left?
I think Mom and I ate breakfast. And within a couple hours, actually Rick and Dad got into Wenatchee and nothing was open yet. So within a couple hours they got back and proceeded to put the low pressure hose on, and Dad was watching over the hood as Rick started it up, and blammo, the high pressure hose exploded.
That's right. That was the second time we had to fill the power steering with fluid. Anyway, we had to go back in. I think they thought we lived in Wenatchee by that time, because we went back to Wenatchee, the same parts store, and got the high pressure hose for the power steering. Well, I'm going to have to let Dad fill us in a little bit on this, because the next thing that happened, one of the cars overheated, and I don't remember which one it was. Was that the Plymouth?
Your car.
That was the car I was driving that overheated. We had gotten out of Wenatchee. We were probably halfway to Penticton by that time, and the car was overheating so badly we had to pull into a gas station, and we took the thermostat. Ended up taking the thermostat out of the Chrysler, and we drove the rest of the way to Penticton without any problems. We got to Penticton, and the place we were supposed to camp didn't have a spot for us. It didn't have a spot for us right away, so they put us in a spot kind of in a depression. And the rest of the story, or the next part of the story, goes to my brother, because the depression has a lot to do with what happened next.
I think somebody put too much toilet paper in the toilet. Because when we woke up in the morning, we were underwater, but it was brown water. Of course, Mom and Dad's reaction was, David, since you're the youngest, swim out to the car, will you? I remember those times well. There was no excuse for ignorance. And, we love our parents so much, and we enjoyed all those vacations. Of course, that one wasn't quite finished, was it? We hadn't launched the boat yet, which proceeded to go to the smoke within 100 yards of the beach. We swiftly grabbed our paddles, which were water skis. Paddled back to shore and took it to a mechanic who pulled the head off. And any mechanics that might be here, he lifted a head gasket off the studs, flipped it over, and put it back on.
Here's your problem.
That was what was wrong. The head gasket was on backwards. And I think the rest of the vacation went real well.
Yeah.
There were many, many vacations and many, many experiences that we had when we were kids that will always be in our memories. And so we just thank you, Mom and Dad, for including us. I'd like to share a little story on Dad and Mom when we began building our home. And that was about 1964 also. It might have been the following summer, or maybe even that summer. But
this is a little scrapbook that one of my granddaughters. Oh, excuse me. My name is Holler. I thought I wouldn't need the mic. It says my tradition scrapbook. My little granddaughter had to do this in school, some things about her family. And about a month before she had to do this, I told her a little story about an escapade that I'd had with 4 other fellows and Dick and I in Mount Vernon when we were in high school. This was probably in about 1948. And you people from Mount Vernon remember the names Merle Masser, Harry Worley, who's a doctor in Mount Vernon now. He was invited today, couldn't make it. And Cecil Chernobyl.
Bob, the rest of those guys got out of school in 39 and 40. You're still in school in 40.
Oh, did I say 49? 39. Merle Masser, Ralph Wilson, Cecil Chernobyl, you and I, and so one other one.
Harry Worley.
Oh, Harry Worley. Okay, 6 of us.
He was the only doctor that could sound like a siren.
Anyway, that particular Halloween night, Dick, for some reason, couldn't get the 37 Lincoln Zephyr, so he managed to get his grandfather's old 28 Oldsmobile, big 4-door sedan. And the 6 of us were in it and cruising around Mount Vernon. And I'm going to read now she just heard this once. I told her one night, probably in 4 or 5 minutes, and this is what a memory she has.
Glad the cops are dead.
The name of this is The White Picket Fence. One Halloween night when my grandpa, Bob, was a teenager, he was riding around Mount Vernon with some friends, looking for some trouble to get into.
I don't remember you having to look too far.
After driving around for some time, they came to the town of Cedar Woolley. In Cedar Woolley, they drove by a house with a white picket fence around it. They decided to take it out by driving the car over it. So they did, and it's Prince's bad choice. When they were done taking out the fence, they quickly drove away so they wouldn't get caught. She was 11 years old, by the way. There was a car behind their car, and they thought it was their other friends following, but it wasn't. It was a policeman. But they didn't know that, even though he had been using his siren. Dick always said he had a bicycle siren. Suddenly the car swerved. The policeman that was behind them had shot at their tire and made a hole in it. was the policeman's first time shooting his gun ever. Carrie's here. I want to have her come up and introduce her to you. So the policeman took my grandpa and his friends to the police station. When they were there, they ate all the donuts and cider that were left out for trick-or-treaters. They were not meant for them to eat, but they did anyway. The only thing they had to do for what they did was pay a $15 fine and replace the picket fence. But they got off easy because most of the people who took down the picket fence belonged to important families. For instance, one of them was the Mount Vernon's mayor's son, and another was the boyfriend of the daughter of Cedar Woolley's mayor. She got that a little bit off.
What did you say?
And the son of another was the son of someone who owned a lumber yard. They probably got a good price on the lumber. Since it was the policeman's first time shooting, they took the bullet out of the tire and gave it to him as a souvenir. I wonder what the policeman thought of them after they had done all of that. Where's Carrie at? Stand up, Carrie.
Bob and Jim were really instrumental in pulling this off. Bob being Dad's drummer. Dad thought he was coming to a gig to play for someone's 50th anniversary. Who would have guessed that?
Bob Holler has also been Dad's best friend ever since high school.
Since 60 years ago.
Is that right, Bob? Is that 60 years ago?
54.
I'm afraid the years have been awful tough on Dad, but you don't look a day older. All right. I knew we could do that.
I think this happened back in about 1972 or 3. Dick was a factory rep for the Sherwin-Williams Paint Company. And they furnished him a new automobile every year, and he covered Washington, Idaho, Montana, I don't know, he was all over the place. And this one time they had given him a brand new big LTD Ford. And he was coming back from Spokane between Moses Lake and Vantage, quite a long straight stretch there. So he decided to see how much it would do. And he was up over 100 miles an hour and looked back and he saw this red light and he just pulled off the side of the road. In fact, this was the last time he ever got a ticket, I think. So Dick pulled off the road and state patrolman came up and said, "We see your driver's license and registration." The Dick handed it to him and the state patrol said, "Mr. Volks, you realize you were traveling in 3 figures?" Over 100 miles an hour. And Dick said, "How did you pronounce my name right? Most people say Vox, V-A-U-X. And the patrolman said, "Well, I'm from Conway up by Mount Vernon." Used to be some folks in Mount Vernon. Of course, it turned out that Dick went to school with his mother or dad, one of the two. Son, S-U-N-D. Yeah. And he said, "Well, if I write a ticket for over 100 miles an hour, I'm supposed to take you into the nearest, in the Moses Lake police station." So he put 90 on it. But Dick was pretty lucky on that one. He slowed down quite a bit since then.
Well, anyone would like to share, please just come forward. Anybody? Oh, Jim Castle. Oh, praise the Lord.
Now I don't know what's going to happen.
It's a matter of picking one that out of many. I didn't know him in high school. In fact, we're latecomers with Dick. We haven't known him 1946. So we're recent friends. Right?
48 years, Jim. I know that one.
But every time that we live in Eugene, Oregon, and every time we come up north of Portland, up along the Columbia River and that new freeway, I never fail but to remember a time, and I can't remember the year, that Dick had was it a 48 Dodge? Or a 46?
47 Dodge.
47 Dodge. And we had been to Portland for a meeting, doing what Bob Miller talked about, learning how to sell sterling silver. And there were 4 couples. Now, today you couldn't do this because there aren't that many seat belts in the car. But there were 4 couples, most of them are here. There's one, and June, and Bob. I think Mary was there too, wasn't she? But I never have asked him. He wasn't in the car.
No, but she was pregnant.
Oh, there was another passenger I didn't know about.
I don't remember it either.
But I've always wanted to ask Dick in years since then how he ever traded that car off, because it always went like this. One side got considerably lower than the other side, and it never did steer or ride right after that trip up from Portland. There weren't any freeways, as I recall, but it was over people sitting on their lap. I don't remember who sat on whose lap, but there were 8 people in that car, plus Mary's extra.
June was the same way.
June was pregnant too? We had a load. There are a lot of others, but that particular one, and I remember every time we come north, up to Columbia, and I couldn't remember if it was a 46 or 47 Dodge.
The car never straightened out. It stayed that way the rest of its life.
There's something here that I'd like to have you open, and it won't take you long. You can just rip it off of there. This is Phyllis's.
Wow.
This is Phyllis's idea that she came up with long before we were called about this surprise party.
We were reading.
So, we were glad to hear the name of your party was Dance of a Lifetime. This is what Phyllis was. I had to do the work on it. She did all the time.
Yeah, right. You want to take dehydrated. Don't you want us to read this first? Go ahead and read it, Mary. And I'll hold it.
We can move you over though.
All right, take this one. There you go. Take it.
Oh, okay.
50 golden years of love, 50 years of caring, 50 years of happiness, companionship, and sharing. You've seen the realization of so many things you've planned, walking through these treasured years together, hand in hand. So may this anniversary be a happy one for you, and may the golden days ahead be just as happy too. Thank you. That was Stephen Phillips.
All right, goodness sakes. And just don't go all the way through the box.
I had to make the box.
That looks like one of Dan's boxes.
I had to make a
Christmas present for Mom.
I'll get it open and get out of here.
All right.
Has anybody else out there ever received a package from my father? Anybody? Actually, this hasn't got half the tape on it. The packages come from my father. Oh, this is beautiful. This is beautiful.
Oh. You show it?
This is a present for a musician. and his wife. Everybody see that? That's beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim and Phyllis. My goodness.
I don't want to put any pressure on the Buckinghams over here.
play always.
But we haven't.
As always in there, we play that a lot.
What? Ruthie? Somebody help Ruthie up here. It's a little bit. I've got one story to tell about Ruth.
Aunt Ruth.
The last time Ruth came to visit us in California, she was coming up the front walk, and my youngest son, who was here today, Matthew, went running out and said, "Grandma, Grandma." And we said, "No, that's Aunt Ruth," and he refused to leave her lap. He was sure this was Grandma.
I've been Grandma a lot of times.
Here you go, Ruth.
This is my oldest sister. As I say, I don't
This is
know
Mary's
anything bad
oldest
about
sister.
Mary. I've only known her a few years. And I'm afraid to say anything about Dick. I don't know what kind of revenge I might Anyway, I just thought I'd tell you some first impressions, maybe. I was about 7 years old when I got a chance to meet my third baby sister. Excuse me. I don't have to start over. Do I? Do I have to start over? My third baby sister. And although I was only 7, I remember the first look, I think. And my reaction was, wow, she's the cutest one yet. I couldn't swear to it, but I think she had that next smile even then, on her second or third day. That's been her kind of trademark ever since. I think everybody knows Mary for that wonderful, bright smile. I think that's brought a lot of joy to everybody, and I hope Dick realizes she could have had any man she wanted.
We're kind of happy for that too, right?
I'm going to tell him. Anyway, what would Mary be without that smile? If you happen to notice, there's a picture of our family, all of us, today. We were just after our mother's memorial service, and she died, and we're all trying awfully hard to smile. One of us managed. That's a bright one, too. My first impressions of Dick. I don't know, what can I say? Well, he was, first time I saw him, he was pretty handsome looking. He had this sharp army uniform on. And I thought, boy, Mary sure can pick him. And then I heard a few of his stories and heard jokes and played a few tricks on me, and I thought, it must have been the uniform. As I got to know him, I found out that his stories are very delightful, and I can understand some of his jokes. And his tricks are really pretty smart. I haven't seen one for a while. And he's quite a magician if you get him going. Anyway, my impressions of him have changed quite a bit. He's just a real delight to be around. I only complain I don't get to be around him very much. And my impressions of them as a couple, they were made for each other, I think. And they have done a lot about themselves. I think one of the reasons they seem to get so much pleasure out of life is because each of them seems to find the greatest pleasure in whatever they think pleases the other one the most. And I think that's a surefire recipe for a happy marriage. At least I know it worked with Cece and me, and I've seen it working in a bunch of others too. What else can I say? They've had a full life, and they've given a lot of joy to a lot of people, and I can imagine that smile has meant an awful lot to several thousand kids that Mary's taught. Must have been really reassuring. Anyway, I just hope that they have a lot more really happy, joyful years enjoying each other.
My Aunt Tony is coming up. Thank you, Aunt Tony.
Watch out, this is my sister.
Talk about stories.
Well, there's one thing I have to add to Bob's story about the Cedar Woolley pit. The local paper the next morning, the headline said, "Mayor's son lands in jail." And it did not go over real well with my father. But that isn't the story I was going to tell. I have to tell about a trip the four of us took to Reno one time. And it was one of those 2-night or 3-night deals, so it was very short. We were just playing the nickel machines and, you know, running around all day. And I think it was about 2 o'clock in the morning, and Mary and I are still playing the nickel machines, not winning anything. And then we were to fly out the next morning, so the guys are really tired. We started to win a few nickels. So they decided, well, they better go back to the motel because we need to fly out and they need to catch a couple bits of shut-eye. But we were just starting to win a few nickels, so we will stay a little while longer and we'll be with you in an hour or so. Well, so Walt and Dick went back to the motel. And they went to bed. We had adjoining rooms. And Dick went right to sleep, and Walt tried to go to sleep, but he couldn't, so he got up and got dressed and came back over with us. Well, Dick woke up maybe about 4, and Mary wasn't here. He had never in his life awakened, and Mary was not in the bed beside him. So he's thinking, oh my goodness, they've been mugged on the way home, and something terrible has happened. So he knocks on the adjoining room to wake my husband and come back over and see what terrible thing has occurred. But of course, Walt is not there. He is doubly sure that Walt then has gone to the hospital to be with us while we're recovering from our mugging. And so about this time, we decide we all better go back and catch some shut-eye, an hour at least. And so the 3 of us arrive at the door of the room. We knock on the door. Dick opens the door, and he's just in his shorts, holding the razor in his hand with this horrified expression on his face. And he's got one sideburn cleaned up here, the other sideburn is cleaned down here. And of course, we think he is pulling a joke on us. So we go into hysterics. And I must add, that did not go over real well. And it took us some time before we convinced him of how he must have looked when we opened that door and saw the expression on his face. But we have never let him forget that story of our trip to Reno. I just have to tell it.
The truth about that escapade was the fact they were using my money. I had won a whole sack full of nickels. I mean a whole sack of nickels. And gave the nickels to Mary, and Mary was handing them out like popcorn. Oh, that's enough of that.
Have any of you invested in Gawajibodi? There's a couple. There's Wa and there's Ja. And Bob. Bo is here. There's D. Gawajibodi.
Anybody bought a car vacuum lately?
Has anybody heard this one? What stands on 4 legs, 2 ears, a long hair, a tail, barks, and is made out of cement? We've all been hearing it for the last 40 years. In fact, Dad just called me last week and asked me.
Yeah.
Same joke.
That's a dog.
That's a dog. We put that cement in there to make it hard. Yeah. We've been hearing that for years.
Well, right now, Dad. Dad, it's your turn. You have the floor. But you better stand up because the cord's a little short.
Everybody talks about me telling jokes, so I will tell one now, but it's an old one. It's about
we got kids.
mother writing her son. It's just a little note to let you know I'm still alive. I'm writing this letter slowly because I know you can't read fast. You won't know the house when you come home. We've moved. We got a washing machine with the new house. I put 15 shirts in it 2 weeks ago, pulled the chain, and I haven't seen them since. And your Uncle Dandy drowned in a vat of vodka in the distillery. His helpmates dove in to save him, but he fought them off bravely. And it was your sister, Mary, had a baby the other day. I don't know whether it's a girl or a boy, so I can't tell you whether you're an aunt or an uncle. And it was so windy the other day that one of our chickens laid the same egg twice. And the mortuary called to say if the last installment on their grandmother's grave isn't paid within 10 days, up she comes. And P.S. I was going to send you $10, but I'd already sealed the envelope.
Mom, can we get you up here? This is my mother. What, you're supposed to talk to these people that are all your friends, aren't you?
I still cannot believe that all of you are here. Kids had told us they were going to pick us up at 2 o'clock next Saturday, and we said, what do we wear? And anything you want to. They did call Dick this week and tell him, Dave called Dick and said, well, Dad, you better wear a tie Saturday. And Dad says, do I have to wear anything else? David says, not if you don't want to. So we were going to be picked up, we thought, next Saturday. Yesterday I thought, we're going to the ocean Tuesday for 3 days. Wednesday, well, Sunday. We're going to the ocean. And I thought I'm not going to have time when I get back to iron press my dress, so I'll press it. I got the iron board out yesterday, got my dress all pressed and hung it up, and it's still hanging there for my party next Saturday. So this was truly a surprise. I just came on, almost didn't come. I knew Dick was playing for somebody's 50th anniversary, and I thought they won't care if I'm not there, and I had kind of a cold. Maybe I better not go. Almost didn't go, but boy, am I glad I came. Thank you all so much for being here. It really means a lot. It's been a great 50 years. Hope we have a lot more. Thank you again.
I'd like to thank you, Mom and Dad, for being the example that you have been to us. So many of our friends in our generation, myself included, as a matter of fact, haven't, and I don't really know, and I've talked to a few of you, and I look around and I see my neighbors here that have been married for hundreds of years, and it's really God's blessing. I really give God all that glory because I look around and I see the family and friends, and many of you have been married, for many, many years, and that's just a testimony in itself of your own personal strength. And I know there were struggles that took place as well as in your family as well as in ours. I remember many times coming home and the cupboards being bare, and of course I didn't think of it as a problem or that we missed anything in our lives. I remember meals that we had that were cut up pieces of bread with sugar over the top and bowls of milk. And I don't mean to say that we were poor in any way, because really, no, in all honesty, we were filled with many, many riches, as many of you are, and riches beyond our own imagination. And God just blessed Mom and Dad with a wonderful love for each other. There's a scripture on that back board in 1 Corinthians. I'd like some of you to read that, and it really defines love. And Mom and Dad are in my opinion, the epitome of love, because I've been able to watch them, even though I haven't followed their example at all times. I'm following it now. And it's never too late, that's for sure. But I love you, Mom and Dad, from the bottom of your heart. And I know Mom has been Dad's companion forever. And as a matter of fact, probably a couple hours ago, Dad was asking Mom, "Where's my black socks?" And she would drop everything she might have been doing at the time and run to get them. And they have helped one another through all these years, and that's really what it takes. It takes forgetting about yourself and thinking about your mate. And you're just been my wonderful example in my life, and I thank you for that.
It's kind of hard to follow something like that, I think. Mom and Dad, without you, there wouldn't have been us. And without us, we wouldn't have the families we do either. So, I love you. I love you both. Thank you.
We'd like to have something special go on now, and it'll just take a few minutes, but Uncle Don, would you like to come forward? We're going to renew their vows and watch this couple get married all over again. Pretty special.
Like a wedding dress at home.
Yeah, where's your wedding?
This is my Uncle Don, Mom's brother.
I'm Mary's ornery little brother. Yeah. And I'm not at all sure this is a good idea. I've learned about 3 things in 72 years of living. I'm not sure I can remember them, but I think one of them is better let sleeping dogs lie. Another one is if something works, don't try to fix it. The third one is leave well enough alone. So I don't know whether I ought to tamper with this arrangement or not at this point, 50 years. Wow. Besides which, I've never done it before. I've married lots and lots and lots and lots of people, but I've never done this before. And I've never married a couple that I didn't have at least 3 months of counseling before. And I'm not at all sure it works otherwise. What do you think?
Anything you say.
Okay. I wasn't around when you got married, as was probably about 2 generations of young people here and kids. And a lot of us were off to war at the time you got married, so I wasn't there, and I missed that occasion. And I just wonder, what was going on in your hearts and minds when you stood there 50 years ago? Can you remember any of that? Do you remember what you felt like?
I remember my flowers were being
Well, I remember that your father felt he wasn't sure we'd get married on April Fool's Day. It took him about 25 years to decide that we were really going to stay together.
I think Dad felt that way about all of us, probably.
I really can't remember too much. I knew that was the thing I wanted, and I was just excited, happy that it was going to happen. And I'm happy that it's lasted as long as it has.
Okay. I guess my serious question to you both is now, after 50 years, all that you've learned and all that you know now you didn't know 50 years ago, would you do it again?
Yes.
In a minute.
Okay. In a minute, Mary says. Okay. Then let's go ahead. Now, let's make this, is any of your wedding party here today?
No,
Did Bob stand up with you? Was Bob?
Well, my sister was there when I was married, weren't she? Well, she wasn't in the wedding party.
Okay.
She was present, though. And your other brother-in-law was. Of course, we got married at his house. That's probably the reason.
Okay, let's
do this maybe for more than just Mary and Dick. Let's say that any of you who are here today and have your spouse with you, I think it's probably, you don't need to get up or come up, but I'd like maybe just, as Mary and Dick renew their vows, if you do the same for the person that you chose, however many years ago, to be your husband or your wife. Maybe as Mary and Dick say vows to each other, you would kind of look in a special way at your partner and say the same vows to them. If you're close enough, or if you're not close enough, I'll give you a second to get close enough. That's all of us who are married, and my wife's back there, and I've only ever beat Mary in one thing in my life that I can remember, and that's that I got married the year before she did. So I beat her to the 50th anniversary last year. Okay? Well, Mary and Dick, can you just, in your imaginations and in your hearts a little bit, go back 50 years? And I can only imagine what a very, very special and exciting moment that was for you both in your love story. To come to that place where you knew that you were saying something to each other that you meant with all your heart, and you intended to walk to the best of your ability for all the years of your life. I think all of us here who've known you have watched you do just that, and watched the love between you grow as you hoped and longed that it would. And 50 years goes by so quickly, doesn't it? But it leaves us with a mine of memories that we'll never be able to fully recall and appreciate. But one of the wonderful things about growing old, and especially growing old together, is the great reservoir of memories that build up over a lifetime and make growing old such a wonderful time of life. And I'd just like to say to the young couples that are here and the young people that are here, that growing old is really a wonderful thing when you're in love. Amen? Okay. So I'm going to ask you to, if you can, to say the same words that you probably said 50 years ago. We've been saying those same words to each other for many, many generations. And Dick, I'll ask you to take Mary's hand and look at Mary and remember back and remember lots of years of wonderful love together, and realize that this is the beginning of a new 50 years, and God only knows how many, but we want them to be increasingly better and better and better as the years go by. So we just say to Mary, hi Dick, take thee Mary, again, as my wedded wife. From this time forward, for better or for worse, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health, to love and to cherish, till death do us part. And thereto, I pledge you my love. Mary, will you say the word Dick? I'm Mary.
I'm married.
Take thee Dick.
Take thee Dick.
To be my husband again.
To be my husband again.
From this time forward.
From this time forward.
For better or for worse.
For better or for worse.
For richer or for poorer.
For richer or for poorer.
In sickness and in health.
Sickness and in health.
To love and to cherish.
To love and to cherish.
Till death do us part.
Till death do us part.
And thereto, I pledge you my life.
I pledge you my life.
Not gonna kiss the bride?
And the rest of you that are so inclined.
That's the strange part. It was only yesterday.
Okay, will you pray with me now? Father, we're aware in these moments of the wondrous thing that love is between a man and a woman, when it is shared heart to heart at the deepest, most honest level. We realize, Father, that we are here today to honor a very special couple, family, friend. We've watched their love blossom over many years, and we thank you for that. We've seen their children grow, be fine, fine young men. We ask God that the years that have come before will just be the beginning of something that grows ever more wonderful, day by day, year by year. That you'll continue to watch over them, bless them in their relationship, bless their family, bless their home. In Jesus' name, amen.
anniversary, you guys. You're very special. Come see us in Cambria, okay?
Wash it in. Gray's gone for like 6 weeks. You'll feel terrific.
Lasting color by Loving Care. The longer-lasting way to get rid of gray. Only from Clairol.
Yeah, you'll look gorgeous. Like I do. Hey, what am I, chopped liver?